Hello, and welcome to the Sanibel Captiva Guide podcast. This is a little bit of a special one. We're on episode 52, and so it's officially our 1 year anniversary. So we decided we were going to do one a week, and we have. So
we made it.
So
episode 52.
52. And a little bit special, a little bit different this time. Max has been relieved from behind the board in the back. And we've got Don Abbott back there, who's been one of our guests in the past. An absolute legend in the broadcast business. Radio man back from the 50s. And all sorts of entertainment credentials all through. And check out the episode where we interviewed Don. He's got
two episodes, because he had so much to talk about. We had to roll it into two, right. I think.
And then we have his beautiful daughter here, Lisa. Now, basically, what we're going to do.
So, I'm going to probably take this over. You invited me today.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I'm Liz Abbott, and I
just said Lisa, didn't I?
That's all right.
You totally did.
I thought basically I would.
It wouldn't be the same if I didn't screw something up on the intro.
Bring up your small stroke you just had on television, but that's okay. And we actually do go way back. It's not like you just met me on the street.
Exactly.
Yeah, so anyway, but I do have a daughter named Liza who we were just talking about, so I'll give you that.
We'll get a little bit of a pass, maybe.
So listen, thank you so much. I'm truly honored to be the one, after a solid year of these wonderful podcasts, to be here to interview you today.
Thank you
And
very much.
on the way here, I was really starting to brainstorm about what I wanted to ask you, and they're all different because I think you've been doing this for a year now. So have things really changed from your first episode to now?
For me, absolutely. I didn't even want to be on the first episode, to be
Actually,
honest.
we had a conversation sitting out there, and I said, Laurie, come on, you're coming on. And she said, no, you're better at this. No, I said, you're coming on. And she did it, and she's been
definitely spearheaded our podcast ever since then.
So she's done great. Done amazing.
So definitely changed for me. The first episode, I think you could probably see, I probably was terrified. I guess
I still screw up every single intro, so nothing's changed for me.
No, nothing's changed for him.
You can call me whatever you want to call me,
wrong
right?
people, whatever. You know.
So that's changed, and
I think if you look at the first episode, it was just so awkward and disorganized. We didn't have a rhythm to what we were doing.
Right.
Were you here for the first episode?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been with them the whole time.
Yeah, and we didn't have any major goal. And then we ended up getting guests on for every episode after, I think episode probably 15 was our last solo adventure around then. And then actually interviewing people, I think we kind of ran out of stuff to talk about
No, we did
just
not.
the three of us.
Well, I have to
That
say, I
changed
really enjoyed you were doing these excursion videos where you would show the mile markers from the start of one end of the island to the other. Mm-hmm. I learned so many things about Sanibel, where I grew up.
Right.
I moved here in 1981. I've been here for 41 years, my father and I, and my mom.
Right.
But I learned a plethora of information from those. And
That's
now
awesome.
this, I think it's really, really cool. So let's go back a little bit. Let's find out, how did you come here? Because a lot of people don't sound like Nick that live on the island.
No, we've had some comments in some of the videos about my accent and the English expert on Florida. But
Gotcha.
no, we first met I was a budding photographer, and I was out of the construction industry, and I was trying to get into photography. My uncle was a semi-famous photographer during the glamour era of the early 80s and in London. Just a quick message before we get back to the show. We put a ton of effort into bringing you quality content, so if you would like to help us share our love of the islands, here are several easy ways. Firstly, you can support us on Patreon. You could purchase an island souvenir from our Etsy store. You can metaphorically buy us a coffee, which is an easy way to donate a couple of bucks.
Don't you prefer tea?
Well, I do, kind of. Also, like and subscribe to our channel to keep up to date with all things Sanibel and Captiva. And finally, show some love to our sponsors. Let them know we sent you. All the links are in the description below. Now, back to the episode. and he photographed every celebrity there was, Twiggy and all the stars of the time, Margaret Thatcher and all people like that, and he sort of inspired me to get into photography, but I couldn't really. I was struggling to find a job. Funnily enough, coming straight out of the construction industry, trying to find a job in photography. But the only people that were advertising on a consistent basis were cruise ships. And there used to be a weekly magazine called the British Journal of Photographers, and every week they were advertising in there. So I ended up applying for a job on a cruise ship and ended up getting flown out to the Caribbean, which was a funny story in itself, but I won't go into that. But we ended up...
Why not?
I can go forever.
A short version... I was actually living with my parents at the time, and I was applying in England,
okay.
And I was applying for a job, and I applied for a job with the British Journal in the British Journal of Photography for a cruise ship job. Went on the interview, came back, and my dad was a real go-getter, businessman. He basically he was never frightened of everything. He was somebody. I put him sort of like Don. Don's always been around, done different things, and my dad was very similar. And here was I'd had one career for the last 8-10 years. I was 25 years old, left school at 16, and so I went for the interview. I was terribly nervous. It was a hotel ballroom right next to Heathrow Airport because they flew in to interview me. I had the interview, left the interview extremely nervous. Fast forward about 2 weeks later, and I was doing a certain something in the house, and my father shouted over to me.
What were you doing?
I was taking a little restroom break. So as I'm in there,
in the loo.
Unnecessary details.
It's important detail. So my father shouts through, Nick, how did you get on with that interview? So I said, obviously I didn't get it. And he said, well, why do you say that? I said, well, because it's been 2 weeks now and I haven't heard from them. He said, well, did you call them? So I said, no, I didn't call them. So he said, well, you should do. And the next thing I hear is my father on the phone. Hello, this is Nick Adams here. Just calling to see how I got on the interview. And I can hear this muffled thing coming through the door that he's pretending to be me. Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. Oh, fantastic. Excellent. Okay. All right. Yes, I shall certainly do that. Okay. Thanks very much. Puts down the phone. And with a big, loud shrill, he goes, you silly ass. He said, you got the job. They were waiting to hear from you.
Oh, my God.
And so there's a lesson that you should follow up.
Yes, you should follow up.
Right.
And I basically ended up the following Monday flying out to Puerto Rico or to Miami first for training.
This is with Royal Caribbean.
Royal Caribbean.
Lines.
Okay.
And then from there, I did a week-long training course about firefighting and all the rest of it, and I got assigned a ship out in Puerto Rico. As I'm joining the ship, I get a cab from the airport to the ship, and as the cab driver's going there, there's a big news event breaking, and there was a certain person, OJ Simpson, and he was doing his slow chase down the highway.
Right.
And to me, I was really nervous again, and I wasn't really worried about that. And I didn't know who this OJ Simpson was. What a pivotal thing, fast forward, and everybody still knows about OJ Simpson and the murders and all the rest of it. So that was as I was getting in the cab going to the ship, and then literally hit the deck running. You get on there, you're working within an hour. And met Laurie within a few days of being on there.
So, Laurie, you were on the ship working?
Yes, I was a youth counselor.
Aww.
So I went to school in Ohio, got my teaching degree, and decided that my parents were teachers, and I just decided I didn't want to be a teacher. If I got a teaching job, I thought I would be a teacher.
A cruise ship.
Right.
Why not?
If I got a teaching job in Ohio after I graduated, I'd probably be a teacher for the rest of my life. So I thought, I'm going to do something fun first. So this is kind of pre-computer-ish. So I went to the library and got a book called How to Get a Job on a Cruise Ship. And that was literally the title of it.
Oh, my gosh.
And I had never been on a cruise.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what got into my brain to do this, but I literally and it just had addresses. So I typed up on my typewriter and sent off these applications. It had application to Carnival, Royal Caribbean, Princess Cruise Lines, and I heard back from Royal Caribbean, and they said, can you start in 3 days?
Wow.
So I was like, they said it will only be a 6-week contract during spring break when we're really busy with kids. And I'm like, well, I guess if I hate it, I can survive 6 weeks. So same thing. They put me on a plane, flew to Miami, and then straight to San Juan, and 6 weeks turned into 2.5 years.
So you were both on the ship for 2.5 years?
No, I was only on for about a year. We were both in the Eastern Caribbean, and then Laurie got transferred. You can basically, the 4-month to 6-month contracts, and you can basically only ask for a favor once or twice. So you can suggest that you would like to go here or there, but it happens once or twice, and then once you run out of favors, then you're basically up to their mercy. So I managed to score in that time. There was a dry dock up in Virginia, so that was considered a contract. It was short, it was only a month or two, and then after that I requested to go back to that ship because Laurie was there, and then Laurie did the same again. So we both had used up our favors, and then she got transferred to the Caribbean, to Alaska.
Oh,
so after this was pre-cell phones. We might still sound really old.
Yeah, we do.
I mean, there was a cell phone somewhere. It certainly wasn't international. So you had to meet every Wednesday. We'd meet at a call center, and if I was late for some reason or she was late for some reason, we'd call a public call center. And if the other person wasn't there, the only way you could get in contact again was wait till the next week. So it was difficult, like doing a long distance relationship like that.
Writing letters to each other.
Yeah.
You both were at my wedding because you were the photographer, and I have to say we honeymooned in Europe, and that was only 17 years ago this month, and no cell phone. No way to translate communication, no way to find out where we were or any of that. Yeah. And that was only 17 years ago. So it's very different.
So you can see.
7,
yeah.
And actually, one of my roommates had a computer laptop. He was really swanky, and he was actually he was a cartoonist. And then ended up going on working to EA Sports. So, anyways, an eclectic group of people. It was all people that want to be something, like whether they're video guys, broadcast guys,
dancers,
photographers, dancers, singers. They're all on a journey to somewhere, and the cruise ship is sort of a stepping stone. So,
what do we have?
They're all sort of go-getters.
6,000 passengers, and how many?
No. There was on the ship we were on. It was the second biggest ship in the world. At the time, the only bigger one was called the Norway, the SS Norway, and we were on the Royal Caribbean. It was the Monarch of the Seas. There was 3 of those exact same ships, and it was 80,000 tons, I believe, 2,300 passengers and 800 crew. So yeah. Now they're I think Royal Caribbean has a 190,000 ton ship, but that was huge back then.
Yeah,
but
so basically
it is interesting because you were talking about how you don't have this knowledge, and you went to the library. When I was studying theater in college, I had no idea that cruise ships even hired people. Like, it never even dawned on me that could have been a window that I could have even embarked on. I had no idea. Now we have so many friends that are like doing a gig on a boat and coming back. And we have one friend who works for Royal Caribbean and does all the choreography in Miami, puts all the shows together, gets them on the boat, and then
sends
lets
them on their way.
Sail.
It was definitely, I would say it was probably...
What a fun gig.
It was. We have
fantastic.
wonderful memories of it. No, you didn't have to
pressure.
do anything.
And we didn't earn a terrific amount of money, but the thing was, everything that you had was in your pocket. It was all bonus because you didn't have to pay.
You didn't have any living expense or food expense. Correct.
The crew bars were ridiculously cheap.
It was 40 cents for a domestic and 50 cents for an import.
We need this job again.
Get
on that.
I think I might need to go.
40-cent domestic.
I actually pushed out the boat and got the 50-cent import.
Well, for Laurie, you don't know, that's a big deal.
You are fancy.
Laurie's spending.
You are fancy. I knew it all along.
So we basically ended up getting separated. I went to Alaska. He was staying in the Caribbean.
And we ended up, we decided
for some reason.
We decided either we go our separate ways or we make a go of it. And we decided to make a go of it. And I immediately presumed she'd want me to come to America. And you know what presumption gets you.
Yeah.
But she was like,
get you a couple kids and a house, a mortgage.
Well, there's that,
I know exactly what that is. I got one myself.
Well, we ended up going to, Laurie actually wanted to go to London, so much to her mother's dismay, but she came to London and we ended up going back there. We lived there for 4 years. We set up long story short, we set up a photography business there I won't skip this bit because it's important, but we started with, at the time, my dad my parents, they both passed now. That I wasn't brought up in any hardship or anything, but at that particular time there was a recession on. My parents were going for a particularly tough time. They'd sold a business and they were close to bankruptcy, so they weren't in a position to help us. Although my father, the help that he gave me was, advice and
encouragement. He was a big encourager.
Phone calls while I'm taking a restroom break and things like that. But he got us hooked up with a place called the Prince's Trust, which was started by Prince Charles.
Okay.
And he saw the talent. He saw the positive side of these rioters in the 80s that were race riots and different riots for, jobless riots and all the rest of it. And he said, these guys have got real organizational skills and they should be, if they could apply that to business, they could do amazing things. So he set up this trust, and basically retired business people come together. They give advice, they give small grants, they give rent for ridiculously low rates for a short period of time, and it just gives you a great stepping stone. I mean, like when I say a grant, we got £500 and then we got £2,000 that they lent us, and we had to pay it off over 3 years or something. And then, so we got our business going, and that was great. We learned all the mistakes. We learned what we needed to do in the future.
They use old buildings, like we were in a
old school building.
Elementary school that they weren't using anymore. So that's what they would take these buildings and refurb them into little units.
And at this point, you were running a photography studio.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had this tiny little space, and it had a little loft area, and it was great though because they also we hooked up with a local MP, a member of Parliament, and he was doing his election manifesto, so we did all his brochures.
I was trying to pretend I knew what that meant.
I
in my brain going, what is an MP? Most valuable player. I didn't think it was. Okay. So a member of Parliament.
Member of Parliament, and with that, I think he quite fancied Laurie. We got trips to, we ended up going to the Houses of Parliament and standing at the Speaker's podium. And
we just pulled those pictures out. Like a few weeks ago, I swear. I think I saw them a few months ago.
And that politician went on to do great things. John Whittingdale, he's now...
No, I don't think he did.
No, he did, and then it all went pear-shaped. But we won't talk about that.
Ended up with girlfriends and all kinds of weird stuff.
There's so many.
The start was good.
So basically, it's long story short, you guys fell in love, got married, moved to England, and then moved to Florida.
That's a great story. Let's get to Max.
Yeah, where do I fall into this story?
Fall into this because obviously something happened.
Come on. Well, Max, you didn't come into it at this point yet.
And then I was born, and then 6 months old.
Hold on, you're jumping a bit.
Were you living in England?
It was born in England.
You were born in England.
And then I was 6 months old, and me and my parents sat down and had a talk, and we decided it would be best if we moved to Florida.
To the state.
Yeah, it was my idea.
So how did you pick this area? Why here? Why
Laurie's
here?
probably the best one to answer that.
So I've been visiting Sanibel since 1977.
Oh, so you were one of those vacationers that loved it.
Yeah, so 45 years. Actually, my aunt and uncle built a condo on Sanibel called the Signal Inn, which is still there today. They opened it on July 4th of 1977.
Wow.
So it was my mom's only brother. We lived in Ohio at the time, and so we would always come here for vacation.
Yeah.
My parents were teachers, so every Christmas holiday, we would jump straight in the car when Christmas break was on. We would drive straight through from Ohio, and we would be on Sanibel, and we were in the sun no matter what. If it was cold, rain, whatever, we were there basking in the sun.
Back in the day when really most people did drive here. I do think about that because when vacation hit for us as well, we would drive north, and it was getting the triptych from AAA
we
and
always
flipping the triptych, and we're on to the next page, and we're going to get that Holiday Inn Holidome tonight. It's going to be amazing.
Exactly.
Yes.
So this is where we would spend our every Christmas for 45 years.
I love
and then
it.
when we got older, we would come for spring break, and then my sister spent a couple summers here. So it just was always a
So we didn't want to go anywhere cold.
Right.
So
you wanted to come somewhere.
hot.
Yeah, after being in England for 4 years, when you can imagine
Did you come over and look at it first and decide this is where we're going to raise children, or did you just do one of these crazy
Jump
things?
Straight in.
Okay.
Jumped in, yeah.
So you came
Got
over.
a little place to rent in the Iona area, which we're still in that same area now. Have been for ever since we
Which I really call part of the island, because most people that know this area almost, I think when we moved here, Dad, in the 80s, Iona area really housed a lot of the people that worked on the island.
Yeah.
So if you were
Still
a
does.
fisherman, or if you were anybody in the hospitality industry, any of that, you did live in that area.
Yep.
It's
I
since
never thought
become
about
quite a desirable
Right.
area
We
to
have a
live.
Target.
I know. Look
Come
at us. I prayed for that Target.
You did. Thank
and
you.
God delivered
Thank
that
you.
Target. I swear. That was
thank
me.
you, Liz.
Most people call it the Liz Abbott Target. They know it because I did pray when I was pregnant.
Spends a lot of time.
Yes, I do.
Me
I
too.
do.
I run into you there.
A lot, yes. So, Max, you're the oldest of your siblings.
I am indeed.
And you were born in London, but then you moved here when you were just
6 months old.
a 6-month-old
Yeah,
child.
tragically not taking an accent with me.
Right. So you
Yeah.
It would have helped with the girls.
Yeah, it
I
would
know.
have helped.
Every time
You
I
should
bring it
pretend.
up, somebody says,
You
like,
should
why don't you have an
pretend.
accent?
Yeah.
I can't. I
Yeah,
wish
you
I could.
can't.
I can't.
No.
So
wish I could.
you grew up on Sanibel Island. I mean, you really are tried and true, if I may.
I mean, I
6
went to
months
Sanibel
old.
school
Yeah.
through 3rd grade, so I was always out here. What you just said about Iona housing a bunch of Sanibel kids,
Yeah.
all of my friends from Sanibel, now that I think about it, have parents that work on Sanibel.
Right.
In
So
the
you
Iona
were
area.
in the Iona area.
Iona
Yeah.
area.
So when I was growing up and I went to Sanibel school, I was actually living on Sanibel. But when Greg and I got married, we decided to live in the Iona area. My dad actually had a television studio not far from our home in that area, but boy, has it changed.
Yeah, it
They
has.
were
It's-
gladiolus fields over
Right.
there, many farms. I actually have a wonderful painting in my home called Cow on McGregor.
Oh, really?
That Frank from the post office painted, and it really depicts right where Coconut Creek is.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
That was all farmland
Yeah.
and just magical when you would be in that area. There was really nothing.
Right.
No.
And now
Shacks
it's
and little places, and now it's, you know,
Yeah.
completely blown.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
still
out.
nice. It's
Yeah.
still nice though.
That's
So,
So let's get to now. You're living here. You decide to open up Nick Adams
yeah.
Photography.
Mach 2. Yeah.
Yes, and this would be what year?
99.
Yes. Max was born in.
1999.
Max was
98.
So I had a
a
short
Christmas
spell
baby. Yeah.
sweeping up construction sites for your uncle for about a month, and then I had a job at there was an ad in the paper that said earn $70,000 a year. I had no idea what it was, but I applied for it. It turned out to be
You made your dad call. You went to the loo and said, "Dad, please
What do you
call
think of
this
this
number."
one?
Sounds like a good
It was in
job.
the news
gosh.
press, and it was actually selling cars for Mitsubishi on Fowler Street. And I still say to this day, I did it for 6 months. That was enough. But still things that I learned from doing that for
yeah.
6 months that I still use today. So it wasn't a mistake, but
Right.
it was
No.
good.
Same
It was
as
good.
me getting waitressing
Yeah.
jobs. I worked at the Hungry Heron, which is now where Rosie's Cafe
Yeah.
is. I worked at Renee's Jewelry, which is in the old Sanibel shops. It's not there anymore. So,
But then we both
sales.
worked for friends of ours who are still good friends of ours, Lee and Dave Horton. They had a business called Sanibel Print and Graphics, which was on Palm Ridge Road. And I got a job there with the understanding. I actually applied for it before, and they called me up. They had somebody else that fell through, so I was a second best, but whatever. They said, I said, sure, I'll take it. And they basically, I said, with the understanding that I could set up my photography business. So I was only there a short time because it actually took off pretty quickly. On having set up a business once already in England, we knew what to do and not what.
Really, what a smart business to set up here, with it being a destination wedding
Yeah.
location and really families reuniting for Easter, for Christmases,
Yeah.
all these different
Yeah.
times. I mean, I know what your season is like. And I know trying to book a wedding with you is not the easiest thing to do because
Yeah.
you book up quickly. But what a smart business. And once it took off, were you like, oh my, this was a really smart move?
Yeah, I think so Max was born, and then 3 years later we had Brooke and then McKenna. And I think when they were like 1 and 2, Nick did like 85 weddings that year.
Wow.
So I just remember me being at home with these 2 babies and on weekends. So
Yeah, he
it
would have
was-
been gone for
yes.
every
On that,
sunset.
that's not to
every
forget. It's
sunset.
not to
Yeah.
forget the 200 family portraits that we're doing
Yeah.
as well.
That's what
on
I
that
mean.
same
Every
year.
sunset,
So
really,
every
Right,
because
sunset,
they
exactly.
all want either a sunrise or a sunset.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
think
those
about
were-
that. People always always ask me about my husband who works in a theater, and Nick and I, and Lori and now Max and your sisters, everybody's involved kind of in this theater, but we don't see each other until after he gives the curtain speech. So once the show opens and the actors are performing, Greg comes home, and I never see him before
and
that.
This is the Florida Repertory Theater. Let's give a shout out.
Thank you. 239-332-4488. So downtown Fort Myers.
We just saw the Buddy Holly production that they put on, and Laurie and I saw it in Leicester Square in London 20 years ago, and I swear I think this was better. It was absolutely
thank
incredible.
you for saying that. I really appreciate it. I had nothing to do with it, but I will say we have had more people tell us that have seen the show somewhere else. They have said by far, we even had one man come 4 times, and he said the other day it's the best thing he's ever seen, and he had a pretty extensive repertoire of things he's seen. So, wow, these guys are really talented, guys incredible. And girls. But they're all really. It does this Sunday. I think it closes.
But all the more reasons to check them out and make sure you get booked up for next season.
Yeah. So going back to starting a business on the island, were you always in this location?
We were not.
Okay. When did you move behind Island Pizza? Because Island Pizza's been here not the entire time I was here either.
So we first of all, when we our first commercial premises was actually we sublet from, which was naughty, we shouldn't have done it. There was a place called Mel Fisher's, which was behind Wynn's. On at the other end by Palm Ridge Road,
right above Finnemore's Bicycles. Finnemore's was below us. We were right above.
We were right
the
above, and
museum.
we had a tiny little space up there, and we were there for a couple of years. And they went out of business, and as we were subletting from them, obviously,
the
Mel Fishers went out of business. So we moved in here. We think about 2004 or 5 maybe. So we've been here.
You were definitely here when we got married.
Okay.
So that was 05.
Okay.
And I think I even came here in 04 to set it all up.
So that would have been 04.
Yeah.
So near 18 years we've been in this.
Yeah, crazy, right?
That's nuts.
I remember
that.
I remember the Mel Fisher's location because I was running down the deck, and I was told not to run down the deck because I would get a splinter. and then I got a splinter, and I got hospitalized.
Every kid.
I got hospitalized. So
every kid gets a horrible splinter.
I was hospitalized. I remember I was hospitalized for weeks.
No, not true. I think
that's my only memory of that office.
So the real clencher here would be, do you remember being in this location during Charlie the Hurricane?
Oh, for sure.
So you were definitely here in 04.
Yes.
Yeah. So August 13th of 04 was Charlie.
Yeah, that's right.
And I do a lot of that. Even with my parents, they just replaced their refrigerator. And I remember saying, well, I know how old it is because we opened up that refrigerator after Charlie when everything was sour and stale.
For those that you might not know, Hurricane Charlie was a pivotal part of history here.
Yeah.
It was the most powerful storm for 40 years at the time in 2004. So everybody remembers it here. You might not if you're from elsewhere.
Very Floridian to base your time blocks off of hurricanes.
Yeah.
That's true.
But we have a lot of places.
I call it the calendar of refrigerators.
Yes. So how did the podcast start, Max? Tell us how this started.
Well, so they started making the videos during COVID, and then
why
they wanted
did we do that?
Because you were bored.
Well, there was no business.
There's nothing to do
because no one was getting their pictures taken.
No travel. Exactly. And so they started a business, or they started making the videos, and then they realized later on that they could turn it into a business. Around that time, I was set to graduate college, and I needed a job.
Seminoles.
Go Noles.
Yeah. Florida
and
State.
so I told
doing
them,
this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you're a chomper.
Yeah.
I told them I would come back and help them start the business. I had some social media knowledge from working at a leasing agency that I had worked at in Tallahassee, and they trained me in social media. So I was like, I can do it.
Well, I have to say, being on the show, it is refreshing to have everybody's point of view because I think Nick is definitely a great spokesperson and this, but Laura, you have such a good memory for things that have happened,
People's
or to be
names.
able to people's
Right,
names. That I didn't want to say that out loud, but I think you're a really good person to have on the show. And then Max
pivotal.
really does bring this new, total new way of doing business. You know, I mean, everything is social media, which I'm not even totally comfortable with. So during the pandemic, I too lent to doing things online. So to my father, and that was all very new.
Yeah.
So it was really great that you were able to help them start this
I
in
appreciate
a
it.
We
great way.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I think it is a very interesting dynamic. With,
And I love it. And I'm
Sanibel
glad
being so
you've
traditional and
kept it going.
I appreciate it.
What do you see happening with the podcast?
I think
You've done a year.
I think it was we started off with the videos, and the videos were purely because we'd been so busy before that point, and then when
With our photography business.
with our photography business, and then when the island shut down, it was literally we spent I think probably the first 2 hours just looking at each other, and it's like, well, we're what are we going to do? Is we can't. This isn't going to
Right.
work.
This is there putting up like gates
Barriers
on the
down.
causeway, and we're just like, oh my goodness, what is
And people
going
there was a lot of
on?
misinformation going out there. People were saying the beaches were closed down, and there was, and we were like, they're not really. And it was, so we wanted to counter that. That's the
You wanted to show people that they could still go to the beach.
Yeah,
They
I
could
thought it was
still
very
come.
mean-spirited
Yeah.
of people to like, because they live here, to say, oh, the beaches are closed down. So we didn't want to get confrontational about it. We just flew the drone down the beaches, and that was it, and just left it out there, put it out
As
there.
long as you're
showed-
staying safe, you
It
can
really
go
was
sit on the
great.
sand.
Yeah.
And
I didn't even realize how many places we had on the beach for drinks, cocktails, or food.
Right.
And I live here. And I said to my mom, you got to watch this. Wait till you see how many restaurants we have that we've never been to.
Yeah, we literally started with one video. Nick did the drone. He came back and he sat down and he started voicing over it. And he's never done that in his
Yeah, it
life.
was great.
And
though.
I looked at him like, what are you doing? Where did this come from? Do you know where?
I don't know. And then Laurie was right. Then Laurie started writing the scripts, and then we did 55 videos in 60 days. We
Oh,
were
wow.
literally
45 videos.
Oh, 45
I'm a
did.
fact checker. 45
Laurie's the fact
until
checker.
the drone went into
the
the
water.
water.
Exactly. We
But
did
it
lose
was,
the
I
drone.
must say, it was the most testy time of our marriage, because we'd literally we'd get all the kids ready and everything, and then we'd go out filming, and then we would literally every night till about midnight we'd be working on them, edit, doing it, voiceover.
We were
'Cause
doing it
crap,
from our-
we weren't very good,
And for this, for nothing.
No,
for
we-
no
no.
income.
For no reason.
And
that's
let's
the
get something
interesting
straight.
thing.
We're
Yeah.
still to this day. We're how long? We're over a year and a half into it. The
Yeah.
podcast's been going for a year. This is still not. I want to clear something up. This is not a money making venture.
Right.
We have some sponsors, and I want to shout out to Bailey's and all the rest of the guys,
Doc
Spoondrift,
Fords,
Doc
yeah,
Fords, that do
Priscilla's.
pay, but we're still running at a
Coco y
loss. So this
Cabana.
is truly
Right.
something that
Passion
we enjoy
project.
A labor
doing.
of love.
It's a labor of
Yeah.
love, and hopefully one day it will pay for itself. Just cover the cost. That's all we
Yeah.
want to do. But
Yeah.
it was just a way of putting out positivity about the island, and we do give businesses shout outs. They don't have to advertise with us. We do that. We let people know what's going
I
on with the
love it.
island. So that was why. So we started doing the movies and the films, and then we thought, well, what a perfect sort of body of work. Where do we put it? So why don't we start a blog? So then we turned that into a blog with information about it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's now 500-600 pages of information about the islands. And then it was like, well, if we're doing that, then maybe we should have an audio version of it, which would be the the podcast. So we did the podcast,
And there's
then,
so many interesting people on the island that people
You really
don't know
have had
about.
some great
We
guests on
have,
here.
like
Really
Luke-
wonderful
Luke
people. Luke Century. I
who-
mean,
yeah, he was
he
amazing.
etched the Vietnam War memorial.
and
put
he got the
names.
job. Just look him up, LUC, and then Century, and look up this man. And he is here on Sanibel. And when you find out what this man did, you just can't believe it.
No.
yeah, it's incredible the amount of different people on the islands. I mean, there's some really are a lot of unsung heroes. You know, people that like Luke Century, who did the Vietnam Wall, and many other low key type politicians. And
Yeah, we have a lot of people that come here that don't want to be seen. So I think that's always interesting too. We have a lot of politicians that come here.
And just the awesome, we've interviewed the people from the wonderful, like the Crow and
Yeah.
the SCCF
and-
Yeah.
and Ding Darling and just
and for people that have lived here, I mean, we've lived here for how many years?
23.
23 years. I've been on the island basically pretty much every day. we learnt so much in the process that we thought that we knew quite a bit, and actually we didn't.
No.
So when you have people visiting, one of the questions that I like to ask people, when you have people coming to Sanibel that don't live here, what are a couple of the things or one thing in particular that they must do, that you tell them they must do while you're here?
We asked that on a lot of our episodes
this
year, and I think we forgot a few times, but there's been so many different answers, honestly.
But a majority would come down to what we would concur.
And what
would
do
be,
you do? Like you have family here visiting from England. Where do you take them? What do you do?
Definitely cycling. Definitely ding darling. Definitely, the beaches, obviously, fishing, and just checking out the main attractions, which would be, SCCF and the Bailey's National Shell Museum, the one of a kind in the world, the lighthouse. But biking, fishing, swimming, beach stuff is pretty much the go-to.
Bread and butter.
Don't forget the library.
Oh,
Yes,
Mom would say go to the library.
Oh, that's
Dad and
so
I would
dear.
disagree.
We would disagree. That's why it's
sweet.
good to have Laurie here.
And the Sanibel Historical Museum. And
Yes.
No, that
Village,
is cool.
Which
The-
people
I
don't.
Nothing
think
against the
it's really
library.
great.
Nothing against the library. It is an amazing library.
It is a very nice library.
And if you're there, you should pick up the book "A Land Remembered," with it's historical fiction, or "A Gift from the Sea." We've got
many
some really
good
great books that were either written in this area or written about this area. So it's and
going
then
on from
also
that-
we have Doc Ford.
Right.
Ford.
Yeah, a whole
Randy
series
Wayne
of books.
White.
Yeah, so
And check out Laurie. Actually, has one of the best collections of local books. If you look on the outside there,
Oh, wow.
if you've got
I'm
a
going to
question
start my own
about
library.
I love
if you've got a
Yeah.
question
Laurie's
about any
library.
local literature, Laurie is the one to ask because she
Yeah,
has.
I've really
Oh, I love
dove
that.
deep
I
into
get
the
a
and
note-
Sanibel
cookbooks.
history.
We've got cookbooks
Yes.
here
Yes.
too.
we
Yeah,
get
what's the-
notifications on the eBay account that my parents have for Captiva book. Every time a new Captiva book gets
Or
listed
Sanibel
on
book.
eBay or
Straight to
Sanibel book,
Laurie.
That's
we
right
get a
to me.
notification.
Yeah, I
It's
really have
hilarious.
to. And I'm now a volunteer at the Sanibel Historical Museum in
Oh,
Village.
that's great.
I
It
just
is a
started that.
wonderful, wonderful museum. We always take my father as a member, and he's always saying, come on. And we go over. We love it. It's really lovely.
Yeah.
It's so cool
Sometimes
to-
when we're there, though, I find that we know so much backstory that it's fun to talk to the people that are actually volunteering
Right.
to kind of say, oh, yeah. And did you know this? And-
Which they
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
you know.
The history, I think that's another thing you got to look out for if you come to the island. Like the history, find the stories, like the historical museum, like we said, that the history of the lighthouse. Like there's so much amazing history on the island.
It is
It's
really cool.
Crazy documented how the island has changed through the years.
And I just learned from one of your, it might have been a podcast or one of your
Probably a photo, maybe.
photos about the pilings by the actual lighthouse. Did
Yes.
not know
Yeah.
any of that.
Yeah,
That was so
yeah,
cool.
What you
Yeah.
want to tell about that?
Yeah,
No,
it
there's
was
just
so
some
neat.
concrete pods, concrete blocks that we thought were insignificant. That when the tide goes out, they still appear there, and when they're hidden, I've seen people bash their toes on them and walk into them many
Yeah.
times, but not really realise the significance of them until a few years back when it turned out that during the Second World War they had spotting stations
Like a
there for
watchtower.
watchtower for submarines.
I had no idea. I thought that was so neat.
So
Yeah.
the foundation is still there.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to it? Do you know? Was it
They-
destroyed or did
yeah,
they disassemble it?
They
Yeah.
disassembled it. I think maybe burned it down. I think
Right,
I
yeah.
heard, but then
Wow.
they couldn't move those concrete
Concrete
pilings.
pilings,
Were
yeah.
still
Still
there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And Ferry Landing, which is not far from there. That's where the ferry actually used to come in.
Yeah.
And then we have Bailey Road, which is where the original Bailey's was
store
that you can
was.
walk through at the
At the
historical,
historical
village.
museum, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the
Bailey's
old-
is so interesting too.
Oh, absolutely.
yeah. So
Story of that. It's crazy to think that there was people that listen to from people that were here before the bridge. Like it was a totally different world.
Yeah.
Like, they were. I can't even imagine.
Different
It sounds
island.
like. To me, it sounds like a third world
Who
country.
was it?
Yeah.
Who, was
Yeah.
it who we said who we were talking to that lived out on the island? Somebody recently, and it really struck a chord. Oh, who was it? They were basically saying now you look at Sanibel, and you know everybody that maybe lives off the island is maybe looked down upon, which is not true at all because they don't. But back in the day, it was the opposite. If
People-
you lived out on
yeah.
Sanibel, you're
Yeah.
like, oh, you live out there.
Yeah, well, you
Because
were
it was
probably
all
a farmer.
farming community.
Yeah. Yeah.
total sort of blue collar working.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Crop.
So it's definitely flip flopped
It sure
Yeah.
has.
with the building of the bridge in 1963.
That was
and-
really the catalyst.
right.
Yeah.
Took over.
Max, during your life, you're 23 now. What has been the biggest change you've seen on the island?
Dang, I don't know. Cell phones.
Okay.
I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah.
I don't think
'Cause
you appreciated it.
I was going to
didn't.
say he evolved into it. He actually, I think a lot of the local kids don't really appreciate it.
They don't realize
They
until
actually
they're
dislike
more
it.
my age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they
Yeah.
go away to college. Like as soon as Max came to college, he was like, "Oh,
He was in
actually-
landlocked
Wow.
Tallahassee.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to hate the beach. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually,
For
you
some reason,
couldn't get
growing
him
up,
to go
I
to
hated the beach.
My
for
son
some
is the
reason.
same way, but
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
grew up here. So I'm sure when he, grows up, he'll be like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it was right
Yeah.
at my fingertips. When I lived on the island, a lot of the roads were not paved yet.
Okay.
So for me, that was a big thing. And I still think going to Algiers Beach, that's not paved.
That's right. It's paved part way.
Halfway
Yeah,
of
it's
it,
paved
yeah.
part way. So many of the streets were like that, really packed sand,
Yeah.
or not all of the streets, but a lot of the streets
Right.
were,
So
were
that's
like
changed.
that. So that's changed quite a bit.
Yeah.
Back in Birdsong and all around there, it still is. That
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, off of Cassie Bell. They
Cassie
still
Bell.
have
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Those are none of those are paved,
None of
right?
those.
Yeah. So a lot of the area was a little bit like that.
Right.
The,
So
the significant thing in my life was the rec center at Sanibel.
Oh, yeah.
We had the old Sanibel Rec Center, and it wasn't anything, honestly. And they
It was just a cement building.
It was
Yeah.
a cement
Some
building with some
doors.
6-foot
Yeah.
I
fans
don't
in
think
the end.
no AC.
And
No
honestly,
AC.
that is something I can't fathom that we ever played without AC.
Yeah.
But then the rec center is amazing.
Yeah, it's
I haven't been back in years,
unbelievable.
but it was it's an outrageous facility for
it's really
for Sanibel.
cool.
Right.
Very,
so, which
very
is another
cool.
thing to do. You can go visit the rec center when you're
They have a cool
here.
water slide,
Big,
pool.
Big Arts. We forgot to mention.
Big Arts is incredible. A lot of great acts that come in. We have a writers conference. We have a lot of things that go on this island that's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah.
So you're going to continue with the podcast, am I correct?
think so.
Yeah, we're going to try and keep
Is
going.
53 next
Yeah.
week?
Yeah.
We already have
Do you have your
through.
guests?
I think we already have episode through 58.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
So
Yeah,
we're
we've already
at least
recorded a few in the
more. Okay.
Yeah.
in the future.
So yeah, we plan on keep going.
I hope
keeping
so.
going, and we're hoping to expand the blog and all the information on there, and trying to just spread the love of the
And
islands.
check
try-
out our Instagram, our TikTok, our
Yeah.
Facebook. We're
Mom has been
constant-
going hard on the TikTok lately.
I did not know you had a TikTok. I'm a TikTok
Oh.
obsessed
I know.
person.
Yeah,
So is Laurie.
I love the TikTok.
My mom got a bunch of views the other day, and it was the best day of her
she was
life.
screaming.
Yeah.
I'm
I
sure.
have
yes.
like 200,000 views
Oh,
on my
come
that
on,
is a
famous.
lot.
On a
I'm
Demonia
impressed.
video.
Oh, I'm impressed. I
Yeah.
really am.
Not to mention, Max has 5.4 million on one of his videos, but not on
Yeah.
on his own personal TikTok.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
So I have to every time my mom gets excited, I have to humble her.
yeah.
So, check out my
Yeah.
5.4.
Check out my video.
Max actually got recognised in Tallahassee over the weekend. He was there.
No, stop.
Oh, I love
He
it.
did.
No,
well,
I
that's what
didn't.
you told us. So you
From
could
the
do,
podcast?
No,
From
no,
his-
from my
from your
TikTok.
TikTok? Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Okay, I'm going to follow you
Yeah.
starting this
Yes,
afternoon.
please do.
So one of the things that you do on the show is trivia. Should we
Yeah.
go
I think we
into
should.
trivia? Okay,
Right.
so I'm going to exclude myself because my mom and I were talking on the phone this morning.
Okay, so
and
Don's got a couple of questions. This
I
is
am.
the,
I'm going to exclude myself. So it's going to be the three of you
I'm
playing.
so excited because I've always wanted to be in the trivia because
Max
mom,
is
and-
the
mom and
trivia
I,
master.
mom and I are very competitive when it comes to trivia.
We are.
And so Don
just
Abbott,
right.
who you see there and you're in the bottom corner.
Hey, Don.
He's
Hi,
got
Don.
some
Hey.
good trivia.
All right.
I was thinking about trivia questions, and my mom goes, "Oh, your dad came up with trivia questions." I said, "Oh my gosh, that's brilliant! I love it. So great."
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. So
Don,
I
what
think
do
you're
you got
ready.
for us?
Question number one.
One of the
You can
very
be
few times I'm
scorekeeper
brilliant,
for us,
by the
Liz.
way.
Mom likes to
Okay.
cheat.
Oh yeah, I'll keep
Yeah.
score.
Hold on.
The three Bailey brothers worked at the Bailey General Store. What were their names?
Thank you for that.
Very
I
good.
can't.
Okay.
Oh,
Right?
You gotta give
Okay.
a time limit, Liz.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay.
You gotta keep
Oh
him.
my god!
You should
You know
know
how good I am
this.
with names. So I know I've met
know.
all of them.
Yeah.
I don't know if
No,
you
you
have.
didn't.
I didn't meet. No, one I didn't meet.
Okay.
Ah.
Oh,
All right,
the one I
we're
didn't
ready.
meet that was the
Yeah.
You ready?
farmer
All
that
right.
lived up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have, you know, I got to be honest. I don't remember the third one.
Yeah.
I don't.
Can we let Mom go first?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
if
sure.
we're wrong, we can change our answer?
Yeah. Yes.
You go first.
Yeah, we can do that.
So,
No, you go
Matt,
first.
All right.
Okay,
That'll work.
Lori.
All right. I put Francis, Sam, and John, I
And
believe.
You
Okay.
are correct.
Yes. What'd
okay.
you have, Max?
I put Sam, Francis, and Wayne.
John Wayne.
John Wayne. Good old John Wayne.
I just got Sam and Francis.
Yeah, that's all I had in my mind. I couldn't think
I
of
know
that
because
third
Wayne
one.
wasn't involved with the store as much. Was he?
Who's
You're
Wayne?
Right.
keeping charge.
Okay.
Keep score because these
Okay.
John.
Not at all.
She's
Wait,
a cheater.
Oh, yeah, you
Yeah.
can keep
I
score
will
over here.
remember.
So Lori-
I won.
Laurie's got
Lori
one.
has 4,000
Thank
points.
you, Liz. I appreciate that.
So this one's going to date back to the 80s. All right. The Tipsy Turtle on Periwinkle had several names, including the Jacaranda and the Jack. What was the name of this famous Sanibel restaurant in the 80s?
Man, this is a trivia question I would have written.
You have definitely
But
heard about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know this one. I've gone through the history of so many buildings on this island trying to come up with trivia questions.
If it helps at all, the owner actually owned another restaurant on the island.
How
did?
would that help? I don't know.
Or maybe
Yeah.
not.
No, it's part owner in a bar, I think, at Sundown.
That counts.
I know exactly which one it was. I can see it now.
All right.
There's actually a
the
picture of it
Jack.
Okay, time's up.
on the
All right.
wall
All right.
in El Celio.
Okay, what is it?
I don't know. All I said, it's a drive-through. I knew it was a drive-through. There's a picture up, a great picture up in the.
I put the Golden Sands, but that might not be
I think that's in Vegas.
Ah.
I can't.
there was
Lori.
one
All right,
coming.
what have you got?
I have Jacks.
Nope.
Nope.
No.
That was a thing,
All right.
right?
It was the
Okay.
Jack.
We
it was
all
just
went
the Jack.
in the 80s. We went to a place called Scotty's Pub.
Scotty's Pub.
Oh, I didn't know
And
that.
that's what the Jacaranda was.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know
Okay.
that.
So
Alright.
nobody got that one.
I wouldn't have got
That's
that.
true.
What was
All
the
right.
first restaurant on the island?
Ooh.
The first
That was the one at El Celio, the one I was
No,
thinking of.
Yeah.
well, that was Jack's
Hurricane
where-
House.
That was Jack.
Hurricane House.
wasn't it?
Yes, and then the one where George and Wendy's is now.
Oh
which
yeah,
is,
was
it
Coconut
used
Grove.
to be
Coconut Grove.
Coconut Grove.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was good.
40-year
Fried
restaurant.
They had great coconut shrimp. Okay.
Really? Yeah.
Okay.
Moving on.
When
Moving
did
on.
Thistle Lodge start?
Oh
Wasn't
yeah, that
early?
was probably the first.
No,
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
Well, okay.
Uh-uh.
All
They
right.
didn't open that till later.
I got to give something.
Traditions
easy.
was
I'm
the
gonna give you
first.
something easy now.
No.
What does Sanibel Island
maybe.
and Manhattan Island have in common?
Oh, everybody
The
knows
more
this
specific you
one.
are, you get more points.
Is that right?
Okay.
You're writing lots
We're
of
going to
words,
go with
Max.
Max, are you
I
done?
just want to give all the details.
Oh my.
All right.
All right, Max.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay.
They're the same length and width at 12 miles long and 3 miles wide.
Okay.
Yes.
I put the same size.
Same
Yeah,
size.
that's
Same
it.
square miles.
Yes, that's
Oh,
it. Same
okay.
square miles.
All
Because I
right.
did look that up, and it is same square miles to be
Okay. Well, okay, just-
perfect, but
just-
same size
all right.
and this.
Okay,
I think
all
that's
right,
a
fine. We all
win.
get the
Everybody-
same.
Here's
yeah.
a sub for that. Okay, it's 13 miles long and 3 miles wide. Where's the measuring point for the 3 miles wide?
Oh.
on Sanibel. On Sanibel, not Manhattan.
I got it.
No, not Manhattan.
Yeah, on Sanibel. Meaning, where's the widest
Yeah,
point?
got it.
Where's the? What is the measuring?
And it's not
point?
my hips. Boom, boom.
Good
I'm
one.
here
I
all
love
night.
it.
All right, Nick, let's go for you.
I said Tarpon Road.
Oh, what's happened, Dar? Oh, did I pull my cord out?
Who's got the next one?
No, you're good.
I put Island Inn.
Nope.
I said Bowman's Beach.
Nope.
Oh, where is it?
Dixie Beach Road.
Dixie Beach Road.
Is it really?
Yes, according to the internet trivia on Sanibel.
I thought I've read every internet trivia on Sanibel. I'm not going to lie.
That was
We're going to have to look that one up.
I think so
All right.
too.
All right, do you have any
Okay.
more? Because I'll throw one more out.
I've got
He's got a few more.
Go ahead. Go.
2 more.
Yep.
Okay. What is the real name of the no-see-um?
I got it. First gets the point, right?
No.
And if you can't see them, they got to be here, right?
Go on, Max.
Sandfly.
I put sand flea.
I put sand flea.
Sand flea.
They're both
Sand
right.
flea.
Sandfly.
Well,
I'm folding on my debut.
You knew that.
I
My
thought somebody was
debut.
going to come up with a
knew
Latin
all
name.
right.
Oh,
All right,
yeah.
here we go.
Sandus fleus.
Yes, right. I thought it was going
Natalinus
to be like
Flaminus.
Invisibilis Minimus.
Mighty
Mighty
Bitus.
Bitus.
Mighty Bitus.
I swear Dave Horton has a cartoon about that.
Sand fly.
Hort-
sand
the
flea.
Hortoons, yeah.
Yeah.
Big teeth.
Okay, how much was the original Sanibel toll?
The original?
I know what it was.
The original, like
Yes, the very first
the very
toll
first toll.
Toll on the bridge or on the ferry?
Yeah, on the bridge.
on the bridge.
Oh. Is that right?
Wow.
Thinking that's
I don't
right.
know the answer to that.
I'm guessing.
I know what it cost us when we moved in 81.
What'd you
What
have,
about on Hurricane Charlie?
What'd you have, Max?
What'd you have, Max?
25 cents.
Nope.
$3?
Nope.
Well, it was $2 when we first moved there, so it's $1.
50 cents.
And they
And
had baskets.
You bought a book,
Yes.
Oh, really?
a
I
little
remember the
tear-off
book.
book.
You
Yes.
bought the book,
Yep.
which they would punch a hole in.
Or they had a basket.
Or they
Tear
had
off.
a basket that you could throw
Just throw-
change in as you
Exactly.
drove
Oh,
by.
yeah.
It was
So-
so archaic.
Yeah.
So
The
silly.
final trivia question. Who
Okay.
started Cheeseburger?
Well, we know that.
All right.
I was just toying with you. It was me all along.
I got it.
I put the VOG.
The voice of God,
voice
Don
of
Abbott.
Love it. So, Liz, can you read us the scores?
Yeah, I'm going to
please?
say that our third place winner goes to Max, who got 1
I
point.
thought you were competitive, Max.
Yeah.
To be competitive, you have
This
to
is
be-
my first time on the other side of the camera.
Nick
I'm folding.
Adams, I'm going to say you had 2 points, but I'm going to dock you a point for not getting my name right.
I agree. I agree.
Thank you for
and Max
third.
are
I've known
actually
you for 20
tied.
years.
Yes, exactly. And Lori, you are our winner. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. Nick Adams, his beautiful wife, Lori, and their oldest child, Max.
Thanks very much,
Thanks.
guys.
My
Thanks for
father,
joining
Don
us.
Abbott, on the board.
Yes, thank you,
I
Don.
am Liz
Thanks, Don.
Abbott. And please keep us in your
Thoughts and prayers?
thoughts and prayers. No. Check us out on Insta, TikTok, Facebook.
Give all the shout
All the
outs.
shout
Yeah,
outs.
all the
Thank
shout
you,
outs.
God.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
I'll see you in a year.
Yeah. Episode, 20, the 2 year.